The silver-grey leaves of a lavender bush do not merely sway in the wind, they vibrate with a frequency that modern science is only beginning to decode, a rhythmic oscillation that mirrors the human heartbeat in a state of profound trance. To the uninitiated, this plant is a symbol of grandmotherly comfort or the scent of a clean linen closet, but to the herbal alchemist, in lavender is a volatile mercury of the soil, a substance capable of dissolving the boundaries of the ego and pulling the practitioner into a twilight sleep from which the return is never guaranteed. The scent that fills your nostrils when you crush a bud is not a perfume. It is a complex chemical broadcast of linalool and linaloyl acetate, molecules that act as keys to the GABA receptors in your brain. However, there is a threshold, a point of fatal density, where the relaxation becomes a vacuum. In the ancient texts of the Mediterranean, lavender was often termed the blue ghost, for it was observed that those who spent too much time tending to the vast purple fields of the high plateaus began to exhibit a strange, vacant look in their eyes. They moved with a languid grace, yes, but their ambitions, their grievances, and even their names seemed to drift away like smoke. This is the first law of the alchemist. To distill the essence, one must ensure the vessel remains sealed, lest the essence distill the spirit of the observer. Consider the account of Marcus Varro, a Roman scholar who documented a small village in the foothills of the Alps where the economy was entirely dependent on the wild spike lavender. The villagers were known for their unnerving silence. Visitors remarked that even the marketplace, usually a cacophony of commerce, was as quiet as a cathedral. The people did not argue, they did not celebrate, they simply moved through a lavender-induced haze. When a regional conflict broke out, the village did not take up arms or flee. They remained in their fields, harvesting the purple stalks as the opposing armies marched through. They had reached a state of internal consumption of essence, where the external world had lost all its gravity. In the laboratory of the soul, we recognize that lavender operates on the principle of mercurial evaporation. It takes what is heavy, the leaden thoughts of anxiety, the dense weight of trauma, and turns them into gas. But if the heat is too high, or the exposure too long, the alchemy consumes the gold as well as the lead. You find yourself standing in a garden at 4 p.m., the air thick with a pre-dawn dampness, surrounded by a purple mist that seems to hum. At this hour, the plant is not breathing out oxygen, it is in a state of respiratory reversal, drawing in the static electricity of the environment. If you stand there, your own bioelectric field begins to sync with the lavender's pulse. You feel a lightness in your chest, a detachment from your physical form. This is the point of self-termination for the individual will. When you decide to bring this entity into your space, you must approach the planting as a sacred ritual. For you are not merely placing a root in the dirt, you are inviting a silent observer into your home. The soil must be poor, rocky, and alkaline. It must be a bed of struggle. If you give lavender too much richness, too much water, it becomes soft and loses its medicinal potency, becoming a bloated shadow of itself. It requires the harshness of the sun to forge its oils. Dig the hole with a copper trowel to avoid disrupting the earth's magnetic lines. As you settle the root ball, whisper your intention into the soil. Tell the plant that it is here to guard the gates of your sleep, but not to claim your waking hours. This verbal contract establishes the boundary that prevents the energy depletion many gardeners report after years of unmoderated proximity to the plant. I remember a woman named Ilara, a weaver of fine silks who lived on the edge of a lavender farm in Provence. She was obsessed with the color, dyeing her threads in vats of fermented lavender flowers until her hands were stained a permanent, bruised violet. She claimed the plant spoke to her in the language of ultraviolet light, revealing patterns that no human eye could naturally perceive. Her tapestries became world-renowned for their hypnotic beauty, but Ilara herself began to fade. She stopped eating, claiming the scent of the fields was more nourishing than bread. By the time her neighbors checked on her, she was found sitting at her loom, her eyes open and fixed on a point beyond the horizon, her spirit seemingly pulled into the very thread she had dyed. The lavender had not harmed her body, but it had provided a bridge to a realm of pure abstraction, and she had crossed it without looking back. The physics of the lavender bush are equally deceptive. Notice the spiral phyllotaxis of the leaves, a Fibonacci sequence that acts as a natural antenna. This geometry is designed to maximize the capture of celestial light, specifically the blue and violet spectrums, which have the shortest wavelengths and the highest energy. When a field of lavender is in full bloom, it creates a pressure dome of volatile organic compounds that can alter the local microclimate. Bees that frequent these flowers often exhibit a different social engineering than those in clover fields. They are less aggressive, more methodical, and their hives produce a honey that has been known to induce vivid, prophetic dreams in those who consume it. To live in symbiosis with lavender is to understand the silent command. The plant communicates its needs through the tilt of its grey-green needles. If they point skyward, the plant is in a state of active accumulation, drawing in the cosmic rays. If they droop slightly, it is venting excess heat and essence. Never harvest the stalks during a waning moon, for the energy has retreated into the roots, and the scent you extract will be bitter, a ghost of the true aroma. Harvest at the peak of the noon sun when the oils are at their most volatile and the plant is at its most radiant. But even then, beware. The total, structural purge of one's anxieties through lavender is a powerful tool, but it leaves a void. If you do not fill that void with conscious purpose, the lavender will fill it for you with its own cold, indifferent peace. You may find your memory slipping, not the big things, but the small details that make you you. The name of a childhood friend, the taste of a favorite meal, the sting of a necessary ambition. This is the twilight scent, the olfactory signal that you have spent too long in the Blue Kingdom. The true secret of lavender is not its ability to heal, but its ability to erase. It is a botanical eraser, rubbing out the jagged edges of a world that is too loud, too bright, and too fast. In the right dose, it is a blessing. In the wrong concentration, it is a form of spiritual anesthesia. When you walk through your garden and the scent of lavender rises up to meet you, acknowledge it as a powerful ally, but never forget that it is an alien consciousness. It does not love you. It does not hate you. It simply vibrates at a frequency that seeks to bring all things into a state of absolute, silent equilibrium. Hold your breath for a moment when the fragrance is strongest. Feel the way it slows the rush of blood in your temples. Recognize the beauty of the purple spires reaching for the sun. But as you turn to walk back into your house, make sure you remember your own name. Speak it aloud if you have to. Remind your soul that it belongs to the world of action, of fire, and of lead, and that while the blue ghost offers a beautiful rest, the sun eventually sets on every garden, and the shadows that fall between the lavender rows are deeper and colder than they appear.